here. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. I am so excited about today's video because I'm going to be writing out my January budget with you guys. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that for the last couple of years I have been budgeting on a paycheck to paycheck basis using principles from the Budget Mom, and that's been working fine, but over the course of the last few months I've slowly been shifting things, and so for 2022 I have decided to do more of a hybrid budget method, something I kind of came up with myself. I created a whole budget printable to help me do this, and we're gonna fill it out today. So I'm here in my budget planner. I did a whole video where I set this up for 2022 with you guys, so if you missed that video, I will link it in a card above. But I'm just going to go ahead and flip to the this month section of my planner here to January. So I have in here all of my budget printables. I will link my Etsy shop down below where I have all of my various printables. I have both dated and undated worksheets. They come in bundles, or you can buy them individually. I've already kind of set up my monthly overview because I know this is not always like the most fun thing to watch me set up, so I did this kind of off camera. Got all of my worksheets in here that I need. My sinking funds I have already done a video on, which I will link in a card above as well if you missed that. But the worksheet that we're going to be working on today is somewhere in here. Here it is. It's actually a 2-page printable, and it's my January hybrid budget worksheet. So the way that this works is I'm going to be breaking things down by month, but also by week. So I'm going to write in all of my monthly bills here, things that get paid just once a month here in this monthly section, and I'm also going to be writing down my overall monthly budget for those variable expenses, things like groceries, eating out, that sort of thing. That's all going to go here. And then we're going to keep track of things week to week. So I'm going to set this up with you guys today. It's my first time using it in real time for real. I tested it out a little bit last month, but this is really my first time giving this a go. So there might be a bit of a learning curve. I have in my mind the way that I want to do this. So in theory it should work out. In practice, we'll see. The other thing I should mention is that this here says miscellaneous on my worksheet, and that's because this was like the very first draft of this worksheet. This says debt payments when you go to buy this printable. So I originally thought I was going to do something miscellaneous here, but in the end I decided to make this a debt payments worksheet. I just didn't print myself out a new one because I'm not about killing trees and wasting paper. So this is where I will write in any debt payments I make throughout the month. This is where I will write in my sinking funds, which I could go ahead and write in because I've already decided how much I'm going to add to sinking funds, and I've actually already stuffed my sinking funds for the month. Like I said, already a video up. Any savings for savings challenges that I do will go here under savings. We'll break down my variable expenses by week here. And going back to my calendar, we're going to be doing things in terms of the weekly a little bit different. So because I am budgeting by month rather than by paycheck, it's a little bit weird. So typically the way that I would do it is the last paycheck of December here would have encompassed this first set of bills here for January, but because I'm breaking things down by month now, I need to account for this in my January budget. So I've included a section, or I will include a section in my income here for rollover. The amount that I roll over will get lumped in with my January income, and that will be paid with that, but I'm including it as a January line item rather than a December line item, right? So technically there are 4 paychecks in the month of January, so that would typically mean that I needed to break things down into 4 weeks or 4 paycheck budgets. Because we're doing it by the month now, I'm going to have this January 1st through January 3rd be my week 1. It doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things because everything that gets spent in January is going to be accounted for on this one 2-page spread, but that's how I've done it, just so that I can break things down by week with my variable expenses. Because my husband gets paid every week, because we're not like a once-a-month paycheck family, that's how I've chosen to do it. And that's why I'm calling this my hybrid budget method, because we're sort of doing things by month in that we're budgeting for sinking funds once a month and we're budgeting for debt payments once a month. We just don't have all that money kind of up front. We still get paid week to week. At some point, I'd like to be in a situation where we are a month ahead and we're using last month's income to pay this month's bills. We're sort of a month ahead in that all of my income that I earn in December, for example, I saved up throughout December, and then we're going to budget that here in January. We're not quite there yet with my husband's income. That's something I want to strive towards in 2022, but we're not quite there yet, so hence the budget, the hybrid budget. Plus, if I were to give myself, $200 a week for groceries, I could stick to that budget really easily. But if I were to give myself just $1,000 per month and start out the month with that $1,000 available to me, I would probably be the type to spend all of my grocery money in the first 2 weeks and then struggle the rest of the month and or go over budget. So we're splitting those things out weekly. I'm hoping this is making sense. It makes sense to me. So let's just go ahead and start filling this worksheet in. The other reason I wanted to do the hybrid budget method and have everything on this 1-2-page spread, and let me open this back up so I can illustrate this, is because a lot of times when I was doing a paycheck budget, and I can go back to December to show you this, I was writing in my bills for the week, going in at the end of the week, tallying everything up. If I was going over budget or whatever, I would say, it's fine, I'm human, everyone's human, and then I would turn the page and kind of put that out of my mind when I was doing the next week's budget. Having everything be all in one place on one page, or 2 pages, one spread that I come back to again and again and again every week is going to help me, I think, keep things in perspective. So if I went way over budget on groceries in week 1, then I need to make up for that in the subsequent weeks so that my overall monthly budget is met. I've never really budgeted monthly before. It's always been week to week, and I think that this is going to overall be better for me because the amount of debt payments that I get to make are going to be dependent on how well I did in the other areas of the budget. If I'm starting out the month with $1,000 and I spend $995, then that means I only get to spend $5 in debt payments. This is different from the debt snowball. It's different from what I've done before, but over the last 6 months, I've definitely found myself creeping back into old habits, overspending, and just kind of turning the page on it, not worrying about it, and that's something I want to change in 2022. So we're going to try out this hybrid budget method, say that 3 times fast, and if it doesn't work out and this turns into a disaster, then come February I can go back to what I was doing before, but you never know until you try. And I'm really excited about this prospect. So I'm going to go ahead and start filling this in now. I've already said that once, but now we're really going to get started. And I'm going to start by writing in the income sources we're working with, but nothing has changed in terms of me sharing our income. My husband doesn't want me to do it, so I'm not going to do it. So I'm not going to put in a total, but I'm going to kind of show you where the money's coming from. So first and foremost, it's my husband's income that he earns throughout the month of January. So I'm just going to write that in like that. So each week when he gets paid, that money is going to go into the big bucket that we have that helps us maintain our budget. So that's the first kind of set of income we're working with. We're also working with all of the income that I earned, but this is where we're a month ahead. So this is the money I earned in December. And what I did was I took all of that money and just kind of held it throughout the month of December, and then come January 1st, I allocated it. So that's that. Then we have rollover income from December. So that was any money that I saved up throughout December for debt payments or sinking funds or whatever, just kind of everything I had left. December was really different for us because I totally screwed the budget and essentially just put everything on a credit card, didn't worry about anything. And then at the end of the month, I took what we had in our bank. I paid what I wanted to towards that debt, put the rest into our rollover, and used that to fund our sinking funds and some other things. And then the other thing we have is miscellaneous. So this will encompass anything else that comes in that doesn't fall into one of these other categories. I'm not going to put in a total, but I am going to tell you that the total we started with on January 1st was really, really high. And that is because December was so wonky and because I saved so much money back for sinking funds. I really wanted to start us out really well with sinking funds. We put a ton of money into our sinking funds at the start of the month. I need to look and see if I put a total. Yeah, $2,750. And all of that came from December. We rolled it over between what I earned in December and rollover money. So that's how I've chosen to do that. Now we're going to go ahead and start writing in the monthly bills and the things that I'm budgeting for the month. So I'm going to start out with all of my bills, which I already have here in my calendar. So I'll probably be flipping back and forth a lot. I'm just going to speed this up and write in all of the bills going down the line here, and then we'll come back in real time and fill in the budgeted amounts. So give me just a second. Okay, so I have got every single thing that I can think of that I'm going to need to worry about in the month of January listed. I did not plan this out ahead of time, but I had just exactly the right amount of lines, so you can't beat that. So really quickly, before we start writing in budgeted amounts, I should tell you some changes I have made to my budget since we last checked in with the budget. So if we look here at December, you can see some bills that are no longer applicable to my budget. I went in and I canceled some things. So, Sips By, my tea subscription is gone. Also, my David's Tea subscription is gone. I went ahead and canceled those. Canva is no longer part of my personal budget. It's part of my business budget now. I'm trying to be better about separating business and personal expenses, so that's not here. I fooled around with the idea of canceling Planet Fitness, but ultimately I decided to keep it because a lot of my goals for 2022 are surrounding my health and wellness, and going to the gym is part of that, so I decided to keep that. In December, I had signed up for a Patreon account. I canceled that as well, so that's not going to be part of my recurring budget. I just kind of went through and canceled anything that wasn't going to serve my goals and serve me in 2022 in order to, you know, zip up my budget just a little bit. We kept some things that I considered canceling. Like I said, my gym membership is one of those. We contemplated cutting out some of our streaming services, but decided ultimately to keep them since, you know, winters are so terrible in Michigan and we got to do something to occupy our time, right? My husband's Audible was something that we kept that we could have canceled. So you guys know I do a lot of Dave Ramsey's principles in terms of like the baby steps, and we were doing the debt snowball for a really long time, but one thing we don't subscribe to is cutting out everything fun, because then life's not worth living. Who wants to stick to a budget and go scorched earth and be completely miserable for 2 or 3 years while you pay off debt? Certainly not us. I know that's for some people, it's not for us. Okay, so let's just start writing in our budgeted amounts here. First up, we have lot rent. I kind of put these in the order in which we're going to be paying them, at least in terms of the bills. So our lot rent did go up this year. Went up by, I think, $27. It goes up every year. It's one of the reasons we really at some point would like to be homeowners with our own land instead of having to live in a mobile home community, but we're not there yet. So the amount we budgeted for this is $553. Our water bill, we always budget $50 every single month. That's the highest our water bill has ever been, with the exception of just like an anomalous month or two. So that's what we budget so that we know that we are covered regardless of what that comes in at. Cable also went up with the new year. Surprise, surprise. They always sneak in those couple of extra things. So we're going to budget $75 for cable, just so that we know we're covered. It's not going to be quite that high, but you guys know if you've watched my budget journey before, I always tend to round things up if I'm not sure exactly what they're going to come in at. And with everything being brand new, the changes, we're not quite sure where they're going to throw in like a amenity fee or that sort of thing. For HBO, we are budgeting $16 for that, and again, that's like a rounded up number, so it'll likely come in a little bit less than that. For our Boost Mobile, that's our cell phone bill, we're going to budget $130. DTE, oops, I almost skipped right over our camper. That's going to be $200 a month. For DTE, it's $193 a month. Michigan Gas, we're going to budget $42 a month. Our Subaru payment is $400 a month, and it's actually less than that, but we round it up and we pay that full $400, just so we're throwing a little tiny bit extra at our car payment every month. It's not a lot. I think the actual car payment's like $385 or something, so it's not much, but 400's easier to remember anyway. We do the same with our camper. We just kind of round it up to an even 200 and pay that every month, so we're throwing a tiny bit extra. Not enough to really make that big of a difference, but it's easier to budget that and remember that than the $384.79 or whatever it actually is. For Planet Fitness, it's just $10 a month. For Netflix, we are going to budget $14. My husband's Audible subscription, we're going to budget $25. Bike insurance, we're also going to budget $25. For my car insurance, we're going to budget $180. For this next few things, these are all of our credit cards that we currently have balances on. We currently have 4 credit cards with balances. I'm going to do a whole separate video on our debt going into 2022 at some point in the month of January, but suffice it to say, we've accumulated some new debt. I'm not sure exactly how much the minimum payments are going to be, so I'm rounding up in an abundance of caution to make sure that we have enough money, and hopefully, you know, this is really a trial month for us. Lots of things change. There's lots of new things. So I might not get it quite right. We'll adjust moving forward. But for now, I'm just going to kind of budget what I think is going to cover it. And when things actually come in, we'll see how close I got. So for Chase, I'm going to budget $100. And these are minimum payments. Hopefully at the end of the month, we'll be able to put money towards one of these debts. We're still going to do the thing where we target one credit card at a time, pay minimum payments to all of our cards, and then pay any extra payments that we can afford to pay towards just one card at a time. Again, I'm going to do a separate video on debt, but hopefully we'll be able to put more towards one of these cards, but we're just going to put the minimum payments in here for this monthly section. And any extra debt payments will go here under this debt category here. Does that make sense? I think it does. Okay, so for Ashley, this is our new furniture that we just purchased. I showed our new furniture in a vlog that I posted recently. If you are interested in seeing what we got, you can go check that vlog out. I'll link it in a card above. Again, this is going to be a brand new payment for us. I'm not sure exactly what it's going to be per month. So I'm just going to budget $200. Hopefully that'll cover it. City is the card that we typically use for absolutely everything. The idea behind the City card is we put everything on it and then we pay it off at the end of the month. Because December was such a train wreck, we couldn't pay it all off. So we're carrying a balance into the new year. And this will hopefully be the first card we pay off in 2022. And the minimum payment that we are budgeting for is $50. Again, I don't know how much it's going to be, but that's what we're going with. And then lastly, we have First Merchants Bank, which I'm going to budget $100 for. And we'll see if that covers it. Okay, now we have our variable expenses. These are the expenses we're going to be tracking on a weekly basis because these are the things we can control. With our bills, those are pretty much set in stone. Like we could turn off lights to try to lower our electric bill, or we could use less water to try to lower our water bill, but this is where we really have the most freedom. We could spend $100 on groceries or we could spend $500 on groceries. It just depends on how frugal we're trying to be. So this is really the nitty-gritty of the budgeting for me. Obviously we have to make sure we pay our bills, but this is what we can control. So you will notice that I have broken things out again. There was a time when my groceries category covered not only my groceries, but also my eating out and any household expenses, and it was just a catch-all category for a lot of different things. In 2022, we're breaking things up. We'll see how it goes. I can always change my mind. So for groceries, this is specifically food that we buy from the grocery store, that we are going to cook at home. We're going to budget for the entire month $600. So we'll see how that goes. I tried to be realistic with what we would spend. I didn't want to cut it down to like, $400 and try to scrape by because inflation is real and prices have gone sky high for everything, and that's just not realistic. So I tried to be realistic with this. For eating out, for the entire month of January, we're budgeting $200. It is my hope that we won't use all of this. We're going to try not to eat out a ton in January because we've done so much eating out in the last 6 months. But I still budgeted for it because I'm realistic. I know life happens. Sometimes you just got to get takeout. So we budgeted $200 for the month. I think that's more than enough for my family of 4 for a month of eating out. And hopefully at the end of the month, I can put in a lower number in the actual column, and we will see, that this actual column total is much less than my budgeted total, and we'll be able to put all of that money towards debt. That's the hope. We'll see. For household items, and this is where I'm kind of iffy on whether or not I'm budgeting enough. We'll adjust this moving forward if it's not enough, but I'm going to budget $100 for household items. That's going to include dish detergent and, toilet paper, that sort of thing. For gasoline for the month, we're going to budget $200. I think that's more than what we're going to need. We don't tend to do a ton of driving in the winter, especially now that hunting season's over. But we'll see. I want to, again, err on the side of caution. For spending, this is my spending money for the month, my husband's spending money for the month, as well as my son Austin's allowance. For the entire month, we're going to budget $400. We shall see how that goes. Miscellaneous, I'm going to budget $100. That's just for anything else that comes up throughout the month that I didn't think to budget for. For sinking funds, we put, as I mentioned, $2,750 into sinking funds. I'm going to be doing my sinking funds just once a month, and it's going to be from the rollover amount. So throughout January, I'll be setting money aside, and that will roll over into February, and we'll stuff my February sinking funds at the start of February, but it will be from January's income, essentially. That's how I did it for December, and it worked out really well. So this amount, this $2,750, actually came from December's income. It was part of our rollover amount. So that's that. I have an unbudgeted section here. I'm going to write in 0 because obviously I don't plan to spend anything unbudgeted, but I want to be able to have this actual column just in case something comes up that I didn't plan for. In terms of debt, savings, and rollover, these numbers are dependent on these numbers throughout the month. So I'm just going to leave these blank for now. I'm not going to budget for them. So I'm going to write in 0, but with the idea that anything kind of left over after all of this happens, that will be what goes into these categories. And it's not exactly accurate because, like, savings, I'm going to be doing savings challenges every single week. So that'll come off the top, not at the end, but I just don't know exactly how much to budget for with savings challenges because they're random, right? That's the nature of savings challenges. And we'll talk more about savings challenges in an upcoming video as well. So it's not quite 0 here for any of these, but that'll not only help me to keep our income private, right? Because if we do a 0-based budget and we add up all of these things, you'll be able to see exactly how much income we're working with, and that defeats the purpose of keeping it private. But it also gives me a little bit of wiggle room to shift things around and situate stuff. Does that make sense? I think so. So I'm going to add things up really quickly. I cannot find my clicky calculator. You guys know my little low-cost calculator. I don't know what I did with it, so I'm just going to use the calculator on my phone. Those of you that hate my little clicky calculator will be happy not to see it today. So I'm just going to use my phone and calculate this really quickly. Again, it's not going to be completely accurate because we're leaving these numbers at 0 here for the sake of privacy and all that, but it'll give me an idea. So 553 plus 50 plus... Alright, so that amount came to $6,713. And like I said, we rolled over a ton of money in December towards January, so that's not necessarily indicative of what my husband earns in a month or what I earn in a month, and it's not including how much we're going to put into extra debt payments and savings and rolling over into February. Likely I will never talk about how much we're rolling over, just again to help me keep the income private. So that's kind of it. That's everything I anticipate going out in the month of January. Now, is it possible I forgot something? You betcha. I am not used to budgeting for a whole month all at once and having to think that far ahead. But again, it's just something we're trying out. We'll see how it goes. The other thing I'm going to do in this video is set up my week 1 budget. Now week 1 isn't even a full week, as I mentioned. We're going to count week 1 as January 1st through January 3rd. And I'm actually going to go ahead and put in the dates of each week right now so that I know and I don't confuse myself, because Lord knows I confuse myself often. So week 2 will be January 4th through 10th. We're still keeping Tuesday as that first day of the week, just for continuity's sake, with the exception of that week 1, which is sort of fragmented. So week 3 then will be January 11th through 17th. Week 4 will be the 18th through the 24th. And week 5 will be January 25th through the 31st. Alright, so that's everything for that. So what am I going to be tracking weekly? Well, it might change, but essentially what I'm going to be tracking are these variable expenses. So groceries, gas, spending, which I'm going to break out. So in the monthly section, I kind of lumped all of our spending together, but per week, I'm going to break it out. So this will be my spending, my husband's spending, and Austin's spending. It's also going to be miscellaneous. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else that oh yeah, there's a lot that I missed. Forgot. Household. Forgot that we had broken these things out, and eating out. I think that's everything. So now I'm going to figure out what my budget for the week is. So essentially what I'm going to do here is take the amount that I budgeted for the month and divide it up. So this isn't going to work out exactly right, is it? Remember when I said there were going to be some growing pains with this system? When I sat down and I figured up our spending for the month, I just calculated it for the 4 paydays. I wasn't kind of calculating it with this kind of half week. So technically, all of this money would have been from the first week of the month. So technically we didn't get any money. Yeah, this isn't going to quite work because let's just do it this way. Originally, I was thinking that I would, like I said, take this amount and divide it by however many weeks and do it that way to give me an idea of what I would be working with each week. And I'm still going to kind of think of that in my head, but just so that the numbers all match up properly, because when I counted out the weeks for tracking my expenses, I did it this way with this first 3 days counting as its own week. But when I was thinking about it in terms of like giving myself the money, I was thinking of that this whole section, January 1st through the 10th, as 1 week. So I kind of did it weird in my head. So just to make sure that everything opens up, I'm going to start out with this budgeted amount for each of these being the monthly amount. And then we'll slowly, over the course of each week, subtract it out. Does that make sense? I don't know if it does. So like I was going to say okay, so 4 weeks of groceries, if I budgeted $600, will give us $150 for this week, and $150 for this week, and $150 for this week, and so on. And then we could kind of adjust it, right? Like, so if I budgeted $150 for groceries this week, but we spent $200, then the amount I budgeted the following week would reflect that. But because I messed it up in my head, somehow we're just going to start out with groceries. The budget will be $600. And then we'll take what we actually spent off of that, and then next week's budget will be whatever's left. So if we spend $200 here, then next week's budget will start at $400. Does that make sense? I'll still in my head kind of tell myself, you know, you only have $150 to spend to try to keep it even each week, but this is how I'm going to write it in. And again, I can always change it for next week, but that's what we're going to do. So for the entire month, starting out on the 1st, we have a total of $600 for groceries to work with. For gas, we have a total of $200 to work with. This will work. For myself, I have a total of, let's see here, $160. My husband has a total of $160. Austin has a total of $100. Miscellaneous has a total of $100. Household has a total of $100. And eating out has a total of $200. So yeah, that's how we'll do it. I don't know if that's how I want to do it moving forward, but just for the sake of continuity here. Growing pains, you know. So the amount then total for all of those categories for the entire month is $16.20. And then we'll see what we actually spend at the end of each week. I told you there was going to be some growing pains here, and that's fine. So that's how we're going to do it. Let me know what you guys think of this hybrid budget method, if you think I'm overcomplicating it or if you think it's going to work really well. I do have this available as a downloadable printable in my Etsy shop. You can print it out on 8.5 by 11 paper and punch it and put it into whatever workbook you like, or whatever binding system you like. You can also use it digitally. I personally have not done that. It's on my to-do list to kind of try that out and see how it works so I can better explain to you guys how it works. But I've had people tell me that they use my budget worksheets digitally, like with an iPad or a tablet, and it works out really well for them. So that's always an option. I will have my Etsy shop linked down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Got a little bit messy here in the weekly section, but again, it's brand new, so we'll just kind of have to see how it goes. Alright friends, thank you so much for watching. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe. I post new budgeting and lifestyle content here on my channel every single week. I'd love to have you come back, and I'll see you next time. Bye!